I want to start off by saying that I've been a lifelong fan of Zach Hadel and his hilarious works. I loved his cartoons on Newgrounds, cried when Hellbenders didn't get greenlit, and I listened to Oni Plays almost every single day. That whole crew is just hilarious. When the first Smiling Friends pilot released, I was ecstatic. Since then, I've been so deeply and truly happy to see the show succeed and become mainstream in the way that it has. Pim and Charlie's adventures always bring a smile to my face. The goofy, silly adventures that they go on never cease to amuse me. I'm also a big physical media fan. I love to collect DVDs and CDs of all my favorite works. On a random day in November of 2025, I was doing my usual walk in the park when I found something strange. A box sitting next to a park bench, filled with DVDs. I yelped in excitement as I ran over to inspect the box, finding mostly media that didn't interest me. That was until I found a white DVD in a clear case that had the word Smiling Friends written on it with black Sharpie marker. Initially, I was confused. Wait a minute. There's only one official release of Smiling Friends on DVD. Maybe this is a ripoff of some pirated episodes, I thought to myself. But curiosity got the better of me, and I put the DVD in my big trip pants pocket. I cut my walk short that day, eagerly rushing home to watch my new Smiling Friends DVD. A mistake that I regret to this day. I put the DVD into my Xbox Series X and waited for it to boot up. I grabbed a bag of Smart Food cheddar popcorn and took a seat on my lazy boy, jittering in excitement. Once it loaded, I noticed something strange. The DVD didn't have a menu screen. Instead, just going straight into the episode. It started off normal, only the volume was extremely loud for the intro song, Brown Smile. Instead of opening with the familiar characters that we all know and love, the episode started with a strange and horrifying claymation. It showed a man. He was bald and wearing a tank top, and everything was black and white and very grainy. The man was being chased by somebody with a chainsaw. He ran into a room to escape and saw a dead body. The head and the back of the person being completely destroyed, resembling ground beef. This resemblance made my stomach rumble, but at the same time, a chill ran down my spine. The man turned on the light and revealed the rest of this horrifying room. The walls were scratched with tally marks, there was a massive hole in the middle, and a man sat with his hands over his eyes, horrified. A weird tentacle emerged from the hole, pulling in the disfigured ground beef body. The creature was then soon revealed, looking like a fucked up evil version of Pickle Rick. This evil pickle then ate the crying man, spraying his blood across the wall, and the bald man from the start was looking on in horror. What kind of show am I watching? This has nothing to do with making people smile, I thought to myself as I started to become uncomfortable. The chainsaw came from behind the poor man, slicing through the door. As he moves, a mirror behind him shows the back of his bald, egg-like head turning into a horrifying face. It zoomed into the head and cut to the end screen. Blood splattering all over the text. Was I dreaming? What the hell was going on here? At this point I started to get genuinely scared, but to my relief, it cut to a shot of the Smiling Friends, watching this film on the TV in the office. The whole crew loved it, with Charlie expressing that it was his favorite movie. The boss was especially into it, as he ranted and raved about how great the movie is. Why someone would like something so disturbing was beyond me, but these characters do tend to be funny and exaggerated, so I kept watching. Luckily, it wasn't just me who thought this was out of character, as Pim and Charlie expressed concern at the boss's demeanor, which led him to explain that he'd smoked a little weed earlier, which may have been an explanation as to why he was acting so strange. Alan then entered the room, asking people what they wanted as he was about to order food. This moment felt in line with the characters I knew and loved, so I started to relax a little, until Pim requested they order a big pepperoni pizza. The entire crew ignored him, purposely, in a way that seemed so strange and mean-spirited. It was then that I realized that something might be off about this episode. Could it be fan-made? Maybe AI-generated? I know Sora's getting pretty good these days, and I know the real crew wouldn't treat him like this. The Smiling Friends were alerted by a loud knock on the door. When they went to answer it, a creepy green Halloween witch greeted them, requesting that they spare a dime. Pim, in his classic good nature, wants to help, but the rest of the crew denies the poor witch. In response to this lack of empathy, the witch damns them. She flails her hands in a strange and creepy motion while chanting something beyond my comprehension. They slam the door on her and go back inside, but almost instantly the lights go out. The boss decides to go check on the breaker. He has Pim follow along. After lighting a candle, Charlie asks Glep if he knows if there's any other candles. And Glep... how do I say this? Glep starts convulsing and twitching, the sound of broken bones reverberating through my speakers. We cut to the boss and Pim as they reach the breaker. When turning the power back on, Mr. Boss gets violently electrocuted. For a few frames, you could even see a skeleton. When we return to Glep, he's become more pale, Alan tries to lend a helping hand, but is met with a horrific husk of his former friend. Glep's skin is highly detailed, his eyes a deep red and white, and he was spitting what seemed to be a strange black goo. He lunged at Alan, getting thrown at the wall as defense. Glep started crawling on the ceiling like a real freak, only to get smacked down by a broom that Charlie grabbed. Eventually, they were able to get him down and tape him down to the iconic Smiling Friends table. Charlie attempts to perform an exorcism on him, but is met with brown goo to the face. It then cuts back to the boss, who had been passed out at this point. He wakes up while Pym tries to explain what happened, only for the boss to catch a glimpse of a ghostly figure. It looks like him, only feminine. "Mama!" calls out Mr. Bost, the ghost responding with, "You abandoned your mummy." At this point, a single tear rolled down my cheek. I felt so bad for Mr. Boss. I felt so bad for Mr. Boss's mom, but despite how much I wanted to, I couldn't turn off the TV. I had to see how this all ended. The Smiling Friends had helped me through so much, and stuck with me through it all, so it was my turn to do the same for them. The boss screamed out as he was sorry to his mommy, but she floated away, leading to Mr. Boss to chase the ghost. An emergency light started going off, which jogged me out of my sadness. This alarm clearly being rung across the entire Smiling Friends HQ. Next thing we see, Charlie's in the bathroom, desperately trying to get the brown slime off his face. It was there that I saw something that I'll never forget, no matter how hard I try. Charlie's face started melting. He tried to rebuild and construct it to no avail. His pained screams filled the room, his teeth falling out, blood and skin melting into the sink. At this point, I had but one question. Why would someone make something like this? Why would they make something so horrible? Who's responsible for this? My pondering was quickly interrupted by the boss, chasing after the ghost of his mother, eventually leading him into a back room filled with strange and unusual objects. Jars filled with eyeballs, and books on the shelves titled things like ball harvesting and how to torture freaks. The boss fell over in fear, backed into a corner, his motherly ghost hovering over him. She berated him for pawning off all of her precious heirlooms and trinkets, putting her in an old folks' home and leaving her to rot away. As she said this, her ghostly form started to materialize as its skin melted away, leading only to a dry husk of a skeleton. Would the boss really do this? Is he so heartless? I was completely overwhelmed, but didn't have time to catch my breath as the ghost appeared above him and rushed him. Next I saw, Pym was alone with a flashlight, encountering Alan. Pym relays that he thinks this is all a result of the poor lady that they rejected. Alan remarks that he's the only one who isn't cursed, but it's then revealed that his lower half has been replaced by spider legs, not unlike Darth Maul. Spider Alan's spider stomach starts to rumble, and after laying down, he sprays spider discharge all over Pym. Tiny Alan spiders start crawling all over his body. It was disgusting. Pym runs away, seeing his entire family in cocoons webbed up on the wall with spiders erupting from their stomachs. As Pym runs up the stairs, a step broke, sending him to some strange dimension where he's haunted by visages of his friends laughing at him. He falls into a weird version of the boss's mouth, which ends up with him falling into a bathtub. On the opposite side of the tub, a hyper-realistic zombie creature slowly emerges from the water, jump-scaring Pym. The sound being so loud that it knocked over my Star Wars collectible figures and scared my parakeet. Pym keeps running down the hall, trying to open every door he sees for safety, but being met with horrific monsters at every turn, one of them being a fat guy on the toilet, which was a welcome break from the horror. As he runs, to my pure shock and surprise, Pyramid Head from Silent Hill emerges from the shadows. Pym's able to escape, but upon finally making it to the exit, the camera pans out, showing that the HQ exists in a black void. From behind him, Charlie grabs onto Pym's hand. But he wasn't Charlie. He wasn't the Charlie that we know and love. He was melted. He was a miserable blob version of Charlie, asking painfully, why? Why didn't you just give the woman the dime? Why? Charlie grabbed onto Pym, yelling at him that it was all his fault. Ghosts surrounded Pym, confirming his deepest, darkest fears. Eventually, Pym lost his mind. He strangled what remained of Charlie while yelling for him to shut up. The animation was so detailed and disgusting, so full of fear and hatred. And before I knew it, Charlie was dead, at the hands of his best friend. As Pym walked away, Charlie's corpse began to melt into nothing. I got up to eject the DVD from my Xbox Series X, but it didn't work. I kept hitting the button, but to no avail. I couldn't take this anymore. But before I knew it, the camera zoomed in on Pym, who'd fully lost his mind at this point, going on a murderous rampage. His first victim was Spider Alan. Pym crushed the spider babies with glee, and then sprayed Alan with bug spray, killing him instantly. His next victim was Glep. Poor little Glep. He was still tied down and unable to defend himself. Pym broke his jaw in two, leading to the candle to roll off the table and ignite the floor. The whole Smiling Friends HQ began to burn as Pym took sadistic glee in his murderous rampage. What was even worse was the boss. The poor boss. He was sat at his office, only he was naked, and both of his eyes were removed, with streaks of blood running down his face. He held a knife, implying that he'd done this to himself. What is this, Moriana Mordegarv Glesgorv? I said to myself. Pym entered the office and tackled the boss, using his knife to stab viciously. But Pym's bloodlust wasn't satisfied here, as the classic and iconic Smiling Friends janitor was caught in this rampage, while he was just trying to do his job, being drowned in his iconic water bucket. Pym smiling in evil joy as he did this. At this point it was over. Pym was the only one standing. He won. The building was starting to crumble, the fire enveloping everything. Pym laughed maniacally and slipped on the remains of his best friend Charlie, putting him in the perfect position to be pinned down by falling ceiling debris, laughing through all of it, forever sealing his fate. It immediately cut to black, with a slowed down, fucked up version of Brown Smile playing in the background. Instead of the normal credits, it showed the name of recently deceased celebrities. What the fuck? I said, shocked by how disrespectful this was. Once it reached the in memory of screen, one of my favorite running gags from the show, it said, Moloch. The screen cut to black and I heard a strange noise coming from my Xbox. The disc violently ejected and smashed into 67 little pieces against my wall. I was in complete shock, at a complete loss. This was the moment I decided that I would never watch Smiling Friends again. I felt traumatized, I felt corrupted, and I felt all my love and admiration for these little iconic characters fade into a deep fear. This situation was entirely too mysterious, so I decided to reach out to Zach Hadel and Michael Cusack over email, telling them of what I'd just seen, requesting an explanation to this madness. And to my surprise, Zach responded almost instantly. The email read, Hello, kind stranger. I'm sorry I had to see that. The episode was titled Curse of the Halloween Witch and was originally made to be a fun Halloween special, but something was wrong about it. Michael and I decided that there was too much fucked up evil energy in it, so we decided to make it a lost episode and prevent it from airing. That was after we sent out test screening DVDs to a couple lucky fans. I don't know how that dang DVD found its way into your home, but I cannot apologize more. Best wishes from everyone at Smiling Friends. Zach Hadel.